Good evening to you. Welcome to Sports Day. We are live from Baku ahead of the Europa League final between Arsenal and Chelsea. For these thousands of fans entering the Olympic Stadium, well, it's mission accomplished for them just to get here all the way from London for those hardcore fans, the season ticket holders, but there really should be more of them. Azerbaijan's Olympic Stadium is ready behind me. UEFA say they deserve to stage this final, but this isn't the Baku beyond.
And I'll be bringing you the rest of the day's sports news from the BBC Sports Centre, including the Oval will play host to the opening match of the Cricket World Cup, where England prepare to take on South Africa.
Hello there, the gates opened 90 minutes ago. We are 90 minutes away from the 2019 Europa League final between, you got it right, Arsenal and Chelsea. This London derby way to the east in Europe, about as far east as you can go before you venture outside UEFA. So many controversies about where this final is. The fans very disappointed, not with just the money they've had to shell out to follow their teams, but their difficulty in getting here, and some just said it wasn't worth it at all. We will see who is going to lift the Europa League trophy in the next couple of hours. A really late kickoff here in the capital of Azerbaijan. We're approaching, it will be 11 o'clock local, but what a journey for some of these fans and the teams too, you know. Here's Nick Parrott.
Plenty is riding on the Europa League final for Arsenal and Chelsea. It's not just a first European trophy for a quarter of a century that the Gunners are chasing in Azerbaijan, but a place in the Champions League. That slipped from their hands with a 1-1 draw at home to Brighton on the 5th of May. Now it's Baku or bust.
A club like Arsenal, they have to be in the Champions League. It's an amazing and important game because we want to give us, the fans and the club, the Champions League back. And I think if you see the season, maybe we deserved to be there on the top 4. But it's tomorrow a big game, a final. We can take a trophy and we can go back to the Champions League.
Few British fans will be watching it in person, with the difficulty in getting to Azerbaijan seeing only a few thousand travelling. Also staying at home is Arsenal's Armenian midfielder Henrik Mkhitaryan, with the politics of the region leaving him fearing for his safety. Arsenal have never won this competition, but they cruised into the final, led by a man who guided Sevilla to glory 3 years in a row.
The first objective is to play for the possibility to win one title. And after it, the second is also help us to achieve the Champions League.
Chelsea's last European title was this one 6 years ago, but Maurizio Sarri is yet to win a trophy as a manager. Despite already qualifying for next season's Champions League, it appeared in training last night the pressure is on him, and there's speculation this could be his final game in charge.
I want to think only to the final, of course. Then I have a contract with Chelsea for 2 years, and so first of all I will speak with Chelsea. But this is not the moment. Now we have to think only to the final. Because as you know very well, our feeling is that we deserve to win. And so we want to win.
Eden Hazard could also be on his way out, with Real Madrid his rumoured destination. It was his nerve and skill that got Chelsea to the final. Their fans will be hoping he can deliver one last time to make it a fond farewell. Nick Parrott, BBC News.
Still, they pour into the stadium. There will be a lot of Azerbaijani fans here because the allocation was so small anyway that Chelsea and Arsenal couldn't take up all their tickets. So a lot of Azerbaijan fans will be getting into this final, which is great to see. They've loved all the build-up here. How are you going to follow it? Well, you can get commentary on 5 Live. My colleague Conor McNamara is inside that stadium behind me. He sent us this a little bit earlier.
So here we are in Baku. I guess if there wasn't that huge game in Madrid on Saturday, this would feel an even bigger game. All English, all Premier League, Europa League final, a London derby as well, Alan Pardew. And people talk about who's it more important to, Arsenal with the Champions League, Carras. Do you think that's the real factor here?
Well, I think so. Chelsea have got that, nailed on. So now for Arsenal, the Champions League beckons if they can win tonight, and that brings that extra funds that can make Emery make the Arsenal team that much stronger. For Chelsea, though, Eden Hazard's last game. He'll want to produce tonight. Maybe his last game, I should say, and maybe even for Sarri too. Yeah. So, big motivation, Chelsea, and as we see last night, pressure beginning to tell all round in that camp.
Yeah, we saw the little fracas as Chelsea had their training session. Also with that, and maybe lost in the controversy around Sarri throwing his hat and kicking it, was that N'Golo Kante tried to take part in training but was visibly hobbling as he left the pitch. We know what a good player N'Golo Kante is. If he doesn't make it, Alan, and it looks unlikely, how much of a blow for Chelsea?
Yeah, looking at the footage from last night, it looks unlikely, and it will be a blow to Chelsea because his energy and his break-up of play is probably the best in the Premier League. He doesn't play in his natural position, perhaps, for Chelsea, but he's still done a great role in that more forward role, so it'll be a loss for them.
Now, for Arsenal, their goalkeeper, Petr Cech, hasn't played very often in the Premier League, but he's been their cup goalkeeper. He's played in most of the Europa League games. He's highly expected, Alan, to become a Chelsea employee this summer. Some Arsenal fans thinking, is this the game to put him in, particularly because he's not the first choice keeper anyway. But Unai Emery seemed to indicate yesterday he had faith and respect for Cech, that he was going to give him the start.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at that conversation a different way, that he was building him up, saying we respect him and maybe he won't play, but we'll see. Certainly, I think he is going to Chelsea, that's for sure. But it'll be a great footing for him if this is his last send-off because he has been one of the great players in the Premier League for sure.
Right, well, it's certainly been difficult for the Arsenal and Chelsea supporters to get here to Baku, but those who have made it to Azerbaijan are going to make as much noise as they can tonight. Remember, for Arsenal, win, and they've got Champions League football next season. For Chelsea, well, their coach Maurizio Sarri has never won a trophy before. That's a huge incentive for him to try and get his hands on the silverware tonight.
Conor McNamara, who will be commentating for Radio 5 Live tonight. Let's just catch up with our sports correspondent David Ornstein now, who's out here in Baku with us. David, you spent yesterday with both squads, watched them go through their training. We heard from Conor there talking about some of those selection issues, the injuries, but let's just look a little bit further ahead and the impact of what defeat perhaps could mean on these two teams. I mean, what do you sense going forward could be the impact? Let's start with Arsenal, shall we? On Arsenal and failing to get into the Champions League. Look,
first of all, let's talk about the budget. Arsenal would have around £40 million to spend on transfers in the summer if they missed out on the Champions League. That really is an undesirable amount of money for what they need to do to their squad. However, if they win this match, get back into the Champions League, they're looking at adding about £60 million to their kitty. So it really would make a huge difference and put Unai Emery in a great position at the end of his first season in charge as head coach, having taken over from Arsene Wenger after 22 years in charge. Arsenal seeking their first European title since 1994, only their second of all time. Chelsea are used to ups and downs, so if they miss out, it won't be the end of the world from that point of view. They're already in the Champions League, but you know the currency they deal in at Chelsea is trophies. That's why Maurizio Sarri is under pressure for his style of play, I think, as well. And he looked the man who was feeling more tension yesterday. I was at their final training session and he stormed off of the pitch in a rage about something we don't quite know at this point. By contrast, Unai Emery was very calm. So we've got a bit of a culture clash when it comes to the managers. It should be a fascinating contest in terms of these teams and the clubs from a wider perspective.